Hi, friends and neighbors. I don't know if my neighbors listen to this. It's Bob Saget's Here For You, and I got a guest that you're going to love, Tom Bergeron. Tom Bergeron is my guest. That's right. We're brothers in videos. We're brothers in nut hits. Anybody can listen to this. This is for any age. There's no cursing on this episode. I'm talking to a man that knows how to do broadcasting. He's been broadcasting forever, and he is amazing. From his radio days to his old game show days to Hollywood Squares to America's Funniest Videos. That's right, AFV, not AFHV, which I hosted. Of course, to Dancing with the Stars. And now we'll find out what his next venture is going to be. And let's get it on the air and make it a giant hit, because he's just wonderful to have in your home. So you know what you do with this podcast. You rate, review, you subscribe it. You can go to the YouTube page, right? So that would be youtube.com/Bob Saget. And I just hope you enjoy it. With no further ado, who came up with that? Must be Shakespeare, right? For the ado. Anyway, Tom Bergeron. I'm so happy to see you, Tom.
Same here, buddy.
You were born broadcasting. You were born with a microphone. Did the mic come out before you?
Yes, it did, actually. My folks thought they were having twins, but one of them was just a microphone. And that passed a little easier than my big ass head. So, yeah, pretty much. I remember doing mock radio shows when my folks and my sister and I would go out for like Sunday drives. I'd hang my head out the back window like a dog and do travelogue series, improvise them at like 5 years old, 6 years old, something like that.
Right. I would sit on the toilet. It ends there. I would sit on the toilet, all. Right? And I was going to be a doctor. That's what I wanted to be. Okay. But I would hold, I don't know why. This is really sad. I was like 9. And I'd have a Kleenex boutique. I think it was the beginning of the Kleenex boutique, the square cube. And I would hold it up and read the description of it as though I was doing a commercial to the hamper, as though the hamper was a camera.
Okay. All right. So our venues were different, but the gist was the same.
But you were a pro author. You started doing this in high school? You started doing
I did. Yeah, my first celebrity interviews were talking with Mo and Larry on the phone.
Right there, Larry. It's
what?
me at 14 years old with Larry Fine.
No kidding.
Yeah, that was just sent to me by a nice fan, and I got scared. I checked it for bugging devices, and that's me at 14. My mother drove me to visit him at the Motion Picture Country House and Hospital in Woodland Hills.
Yep, that's exactly where he was when I got in touch with him on the phone, and then he gave me Mo's home phone number, which was incredible. And over the next 18 months, I talked to each of them about a half a dozen times.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Sometimes just to check in, say hi. I was doing at the high school a fundraiser, a charity fundraiser. We were showing Stooges shorts, and I thought, what a great opportunity to have Mo address the audience. So I ran into the principal's office with the cassette recorder, which I guess I always had on me. And I called Mo's house, and he was gracious and gave this little pre-recorded address. So we stopped the movie. I took the stage. I'm getting booed because we stopped the movie. 500, 600 people booing me. I said, just wait a minute. You might feel better about this. And then they hear Mo thanking them for coming and supporting their shorts, and they went crazy. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Did he, he was there, right? So he would go, did he go, come here, you? Or was he?
Well, he was only on the phone.
Oh, he was only on the phone.
He did when I told him in the first conversation, when he asked me in that very Mo voice, who gave you this number? I went, Larry did. And he just kind of paused and went, Larry. I thought sort of that the equivalent of lame brain, knucklehead, that kind of thing.
Larry told me how he was a bit abused because they were violent. And they were fighting for their lives, and they didn't make a lot of money. Jules White made all the money.
Mm-hmm. And no residuals.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
But you don't know what that means.
Well, interestingly enough, I remember Vin DeBona said to me, because 9 of my 15 seasons of AFV are on Disney Plus, and he told me that was going to happen. And I said, "Oh, that's great. It'd be great to have them on a streaming service." He goes, "The residuals aren't as good." I said, "Well, okay. Yeah, I guess you're right."
Vin has
there.
always been aware of the money aspect. He's very good. Vin DeBona means fine wine, and it also means bank account in Barcelona.
There you go. It's Sicilian code.
Tom, it's so interesting because we were connected kind of, and then we got to be friends, and I just feel a real kinship to you. And it's
Same here.
It's not a thank you. It's purely sexual.
Well, that's why I'm at a distance.
That's the soundbite we're going to use. That's it. That was the promo.
Well, I remember what your viewers and listeners should know is how much I had to twist your arm to get you to do. I think it was the 20th season.
Yeah.
I finally convinced you to come on with me, and it just seemed appropriate that you would be part of that celebration. And we ended up having a ball. I mean, it was just basically. I think I told you, let me introduce the videos. You do whatever you want. I'll be your audience. And you had me really almost in tears of laughter throughout the whole thing. It was great.
Well, it was mutual. And I believe we went out to dinner soon after that because it was a kinship to a thing that was pre-YouTube to a thing that started what people look at on their phones every second. Isn't it weird? Don't you look at people's Instagram and go, what? That I ran that clip.
Yeah. Sometimes definitely. There's a lot of deja vu when I go on YouTube and see some of the stuff.
So that was a sweet show that you did because they ran clips and they honored my parents because I had them on the video show when I hosted it. But it was called, on Wikipedia, it says that you hosted America's Funniest Home Videos, but with you, they had changed the name to America's Funniest Videos. They took out the home, didn't they?
That's right. I know that's a bone of contention with you.
It's a DeBona of contention.
It's a DeBona of contention. That's well played. Well played.
But it was an honor to be honored, and it takes a special person to do that. I mean, I did 8 years there, and you did, and I had my little snarky kind of jokes, and I would do dad jokes and puns.
Right.
But it's 7:00 at night when we were on, and you were on at 8:00 at night, right?
No, 7.
Oh,
7
7?
on Sunday. Originally on Fridays. It might have been at 8 on Fridays because I don't think networks they don't have a 7:00 slot on the weeknights. But once we moved to Sundays, it was back to 7
There's the original spot where
the
pilot I did beat a 60 Minutes rerun.
Yeah.
And then that was the days when they said, you just got picked up for 13 the next day. I don't think that happens very often now.
No, it was interesting. I think it was 2001 or so. I did a special. And that rated well. And then it was kind of like that initially. They'd order 6 and then 8 and then 13. And then finally it was full season orders, which became sort of almost expected and continue with Alfonso. I mean, they're in their 31st, 32nd year now.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. And he's doing a great job. I mean,
he really is.
He's a sweetheart. And we did that shoot together, which was fun.
That was for TV guy. That was a great time, and I knew Alfonso for quite some time. I don't think you might have crossed paths occasionally.
We crossed paths just through the world of TV,
Sure, but the chemistry amongst the three of us, that was a great day. It was a lot of fun that day.
I just wish I could dance like him because my life would be different.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
So we'll talk about that because I have to. I have no choice. I have to explain many, many things.
But okay, fine.
One of the things I love about you, and I truly, truly love about you, and I'm the same way, is the appreciation for how we all got here, how you became a broadcaster, what people influenced me to get where I am. And ironically, we're both influenced by the Three Stooges. And also, I was also influenced by the Marx Brothers for a different reason, because that was wit and sarcasm and that outside voice of Groucho narrating, right? what you're thinking.
Right.
And yet you have friendships that are so treasured. I mean, Dick Van Dyke, you were close with Carl Reiner.
For years. Yeah.
I mean, these are gifts of entertainment, but of humankind.
I'm having lunch tomorrow. I'm bringing lunch over to Shatner's place. We're going to hang out. And we're working on a project together. And I started to think about it when Ed Asner, who was also a friend, just recently passed away. Mm-hmm. And I've tended to, with the exception of you, you're actually a year younger than I am.
I know. What's up with that?
I know, huh? But with Ed and Dick and Carl and Bill, I'm hanging out with these guys in their 90s. I think I'm trying to sort of like a vampire take their genetic code from them. So I live as long and creative a life as they all have.
Well, it's also healthy because a lot of people are ageist and they look down on, they're past their prime. And it's they don't understand you're in the room with a legend.
Yeah.
A true one. People throw the word around. They throw around icon, GOAT. But there's no talent more than Dick Van Dyke or Carl Reiner.
Absolutely. And Carl invited me to be a groupie when they did the Dick Van Dyke Show Revisited back, I think it was around 2004. So I was there, and they didn't shoot it 3 cameras with an audience like they did the old Van Dyke Show. They did it over several days. And I was there every day. And during one meal break, I sat with Dick Van Dyke, and he told me about the first time he met Stan Laurel. And after he was finished the story, I said, Dick, for me, that's what this is. Yeah. Excuse me. Hold on. Let me take that. Hold on. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I'm on the phone with. I'm on the internet with Bob Saget right now. Can you call back? Yeah. The interwebs. Yeah.
I'm on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I think it's a telemarketer. He's so fucked up right now. So Bob Saget and I are talking for his podcast.
Tell him I like Cohibas.
Oh, it's Engelbert. Oh, it's about. Oh, I'll call you back. Okay, I honestly have to go, but this may be your first podcast. Stop talking. I have to go.
Now that's not Engelbert Humperdinck. That was a joke, right?
No, it wasn't. It was Engelberto, our lawn guy.
The question is, do I leave that in or remove it?
Oh, leave it in.
Yeah, I think so.
Here's the thing. Everything's part of the show. That's why I love working live.
That's why I love you.
Oh, thank you. But I mean, when you're on stage, you can't stop and go, okay, let's go back. We'll start at the beginning again. Right. You'd roll with it. That's what made me love Carson back in the Carson era of the Tonight Show. Mm-hmm. It's become sort of a cliche, but it was when the monologue went south that he was at his funniest,
Yep.
Attention Kmart shoppers and all that stuff.
Right. Right. Well, maybe it didn't happen that way.
Yeah. Right.
And David.
Sis boom ba.
That's the one.
That's the ultimate Karnak right there. Yeah.
He was a big part of my life, and we're all influenced by him at some degree. Yeah. And I could see him in you somewhat.
Well, you see, the interesting thing for students of entertainment, I think, you can see in Carson both Jack Benny and Oliver Hardy with those slow takes, that type of thing, that use of the camera. The camera, whenever students or whatever ask me, how do you get nervous like when you're on television? I say, well, I'm only talking to one person.
Exactly.
And that's what Benny knew and Carson knew, that sometimes you didn't have to say anything, just the look. I mean, I get more mileage out of this eyebrow.
You got that eyebrow. That eyebrow should be Lloyd's of London in short.
Like Betty Grable's legs, right, from the old days.
Oh, don't bring them up. I'll get excited. I live for old memes.
There you go.
But the thing that that a lot of people don't know, if they want to take a course in broadcasting, all the things. And that is that one person that you're talking to is your friend.
Yeah.
So when you're talking to that one person, some people look at that one person like they're not their friend.
Yeah, right. I used to, when I started in radio, I was 17 when I got my first radio job in my hometown. I was in high school. You were at,
watch this.
You haven't?
WBZ?
Well, that's later. WHAV in
Ah,
Haverhill,
darn.
Massachusetts was
Right.
my start.
Right.
And I would actually I had an album cover. I don't know what who the group was, but there was a picture of a very attractive woman on the album cover. And I spoke directly to her. So for the first few years of my career, I think I just sounded horny.
I'm trying to get rid of that quality in my work. I get all my stuff done on stage. I don't do it in life, which is, and you have the same body sense of humor. However, you also have the intelligence to know when to use it.
Well, it's interesting, and I know we've talked about, and you've been very candid about, like in the Full House days. If anybody came to see your stand up expecting to see the guy from Full House or America's Funniest Home Videos, they were in for a little surprise. And
it took me a while to figure out how to navigate that.
Really, did it?
And now it's out of context. So there are things that are done that I would never do again.
Yeah,
things have changed, and I change with those things.
Right. But
you've never had any controversy, I don't think, of any kind. Am I right?
Well, there was when I publicly objected to some bookings on a show I used to host. That kind of got a little controversial, but
I'm going to want to get
that.
They're going to have to get through a commercial before you talk about that.
Fair enough.
Right.
But,
so that was.
I get it out of my system. I used to during the dress rehearsals for dancing. The dress rehearsal was always the sort of NC-17 version of what the show would be.
Right.
Because I just wanted to break up the band, break up the crew, relax the contestants. If it was the first few weeks, they were all bundles of nerves because they were about to dance live. So if I could relax them in any way, even if it was being a bit bawdy or unpredictable, it was worth it.
I would do the same thing on the video show. Families were so nervous.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're just an ingratiating, kind person.
Oh, well, if you can fake sincerity, the rest is easy.
That's all I'm trying to do right now.
Yeah, that's right.
No, the truth is, I wake up in the morning so sweet, and you would never know that the guy that goes on stage that's doing stand-up on tour is the same. But I'm kind of melding them now at 65 years old.
You're still a newlywed, aren't you? I mean, you're still
3 years.
Right, 3 years. So that's still you still have that new marriage smell.
Hey, wait a minute. That's my wife you're talking about.
But I would imagine you wake up sweet every morning now.
There are days I don't.
Yeah.
I had a nice dream about one of my daughters last night, and when she was little, and I just our kids are that's my biggest accomplishment, I think.
Yeah.
And
how old are your daughters?
They are 34, 31, and 28.
Mine are about to be 33 and 31.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah. It's life is interesting. Having kids is, no matter what, always wonderful and always challenging.
Yeah. I agree. How come they turned my hair gray and yours is still fine looking?
Well, I have a gray crown.
Do you really?
Yeah. And so what happens is, see this is hair.
Oh, okay.
But what happens is it turns into lo mein, but it's like a yarmulke. And it turns into soyba noodles or whatever the clear noodles are.
Yeah.
And so I have to have the crown dyed or put in a whatever healthy coloring is. Right. And then they kind of feather it. But this is my hair color. And I could prove it if I stood up and pulled my pants down.
No, don't do that. No, because my carpet doesn't match the drapes either.
What?
Yeah.
Are you saying your carpet is a darker shade of pale?
Yeah, it's actually it's the weirdest thing. It's still chestnut brown.
You're youthful down below.
Yeah, I am. I'm decaying from the waist up, but everything else.
Look. I look at things you do. Yeah, that's one thing I love about social media. I can watch you go on hikes. I can watch you talk to Dick Van Dyke. I can watch you in a park. I can watch you with a lark. I can see you over there. Anyway. But you are an avid hiker. You love
Gym
it.
rat. Yeah.
Yeah. I was about to go to Yosemite this weekend with my wife.
Yeah.
And then there's fires, so sadly, in Tahoe.
Yeah.
And so we were going to I needed to get into nature, but it's a scary little world we're in.
It is back on the East Coast where we have a property. The remnants of Hurricane Ida are about to dump about 5 to 7 inches of rain over there. So it's, we could if we could barter for at least 3 of those inches. It's always about inches over on this coast. That would be great.
Inches and brown hair.
Yeah, exactly right. You're dragging me right into your stand-up.
You did it. I didn't do anything.
That's true.
I'm over here, Mr. Clean. So you've had, I won't wait for commercial. I got to talk.
Here, let me fortify myself with my IPA here. I started buying this brand because it's the title of a Chaplin movie.
Modern Times.
And then I found out it's really good too. I'm sorry. I hope you don't have.
No, are they a sponsor of yours? No, my sponsors.
No, they're not. I'm just.
Isn't that nice when you look? This is not a sponsor, but I'm drinking Perrier, but it's it's in plastic, and I get scared that it's going to be landfill.
Oh right, yeah.
And then people go internationally angry over everything.
Yeah, I've tended to. I mean, I don't post as much. I still do stuff on Instagram more, occasionally on Twitter, but not as much because it's sort of soul deadening after a while.
Well, people have gotten crueler. They've joined mobs and herds, and they believe and they want to start false rumors. And there's what are they called? The people that fish hook you. Those
catfish.
Catfish and trolling and all that.
Trolling,
So I just block people because I'm not going to do negative anymore.
Yeah.
They try to say stuff, but it used to be when Twitter started, I was so excited. I was like, oh, some 18-year-old's on his way to his car, and hopefully he's not driving, and I'm going to make him laugh. That was my thought. He's going to open the door to his car, laugh out loud because he's not looking where he's going, and he's going to laugh, and that is something where you post something you think is funny, and then some people hate it enough where you go, I'm just taking it down. I don't care.
Have you seen Bo Burnham's special on Netflix, Inside, which is unbelievably brilliant?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Welcome to the Internet is just one of the songs that are still rattling around in my head.
Yeah, it's a defining song.
How good it is. Yeah. So good.
He is, and he's so talented on so many levels. He is he's a great actor.
Yep.
And he's been doing these comedy songs forever. And and I know a good comedy song because I try to write them and do them. Mm-hmm. And he is, there's so many talented people that I look up to. Yeah. That are half my age, and I don't care. I mean, I love seeing talent.
I'm a recent fan of a Canadian guy named Ryan George, who does pitch meetings on Screen Rant, where he plays both the screenwriter and the studio exec, and completely eviscerates all of the plot holes in major movies. And then on his YouTube channel, use that same sort of device of talking to versions of himself to hilarious effect. So that's another recommendation. Check out this.
I have to check.
Yeah, you'll love it. It's really funny.
I've had a guest on here twice already, Randy Rainbow. Have you seen any of it?
I love Randy. Yeah.
Randy is...
we're Twitter buddies. Yeah.
Yeah. He is so great. And he was able to take us through a time that was so difficult, and whatever side you fall on, it's still just so delightfully done. He's so positive in how he did everything. And he's he's gone out on tour playing giant venues, which makes me very
I'm not
happy.
Surprised. I'm not surprised. But to pull off the complexity of productions he did in his Manhattan apartment with a green screen and just sheer talent, in the way that Burnham did the entire special in one room in a guest house.
Exactly.
It's just amazing. It's amazing to me.
And he had Patti LuPone. Randy did, with a green screen, and it's I can't believe Patti LuPone was in my apartment, and he has a nice apartment and a cat,
right?
That's what I love about the internet. That's the stuff that enriches me when I get to see the talent, or when I get to see you posting stuff. And Carl Reiner in his last 10 years wrote a book, I think a week.
Yeah, he did. I know. Yeah.
And you were always out there reading and promoting and being with him. And Were you with George Shapiro also, his nephew?
Sure, absolutely. As a matter of fact, George, one day I got a call several years ago from George, and he said, Tom, HBO is going to have a screening of a documentary called If You're Not in the Obit, Have Breakfast. And that was a line of Carl's. He'd get up in the morning on Rodeo Drive. He'd look at the newspaper, and if he wasn't in the obituaries, he'd say, okay, I can have breakfast now. So that was the title. And it was all these guys 90 plus,
Right.
Men and women, some of them famous, others not. And George said, would you be willing to have a little panel discussion with Carl, Dick, Norman Lear, and Mel Brooks? And I thought, let me think about that. Yeah, yeah. So I did that. Went to the screening, and it was an amazing crowd. Jim Carrey was there, Larry David, all these people, and I got to be on stage with all these greats. And at one point, Mel Brooks said, Tom, no offense, but you're superfluous. We're all self-starters. And Carl, ever the gentleman, goes, he meant to say, you're stupendous. And then Mel goes, no, I meant superfluous.
Yeah.
And he was right, by the way. They didn't need me.
Not true. What a gift that is
fun
for you to be in that company and to have been asked to do it. And also you deserve it. I mean,
thank you.
You're amazing at it.
That is my the banner picture on my Twitter page is of me with Dick and Carl and Norman and Mel.
Yeah.
And I treasure that. Yeah.
Well, you're also dealing with people that literally a lot of us wouldn't exist. I mean,
right.
Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner made some of my favorite movies in my life that I ever saw. Carl made a movie once, and this is my big name dropping moment. I was over in Norman Lear's house, and we were having a cigar night, as we did before COVID.
Right.
And then we've had one since. But it's a lot of musical people that when he owned Concord Music, a lot of the wonderful compadres there. They're musicians, Dave Koz and a bunch of people.
Oh, yeah.
And we would talk about life. And then we were talking about movies that couldn't be done today. And this is pre-pandemic. So we're talking about already we knew what was going on with all the tension in the world. Right. And that you couldn't make The Jerk now. And they couldn't make Blazing Saddles now. Yeah. So, and I was saying, no, but The Jerk is so anti-racist. It's Steve Martin saying, no, I am black. And in Blazing Saddles, it's the same thing. Everybody's a fool except for the sheriff, which was written for Richard Pryor originally, but Cleavon Little played it. And so Norman goes, this is interesting. Let me call Carl, because he happens to be with Mel right now. So all of a sudden I'm on speakerphone, and Norman says, Bob Saget has something to say to you. And I went, well, Carl, I just wanted to say that I think The Jerk is such a beautiful statement about anti-racism. And what Steve Martin did was just amazing. And he goes, yes, I'm glad you think that. But that was what we had the problem with the R rating. And people today wouldn't accept it. And it is still controversial. And then we kind of brought up a little bit of Blazing Saddles, but Paul Hipp, a dear friend who was there, after I was praising Carl for that film, for The Jerk, Paul says to Mel, and you're pretty good too, Mel. And then Mel went off. He went off on me. He just ripped me apart.
Oh, it's sort of like if he didn't, it's like if you were in the presence of Groucho Marx and he did not insult you, you'd be insulted.
Yeah.
That's almost a badge of honor. And just on a poignant note, I thought there was a certain poetic loveliness because Carl and Mel were such dear friends for so long and would set up their TV trays at Carl's house and have dinner together a few nights a week and watch movies and all that. That it was after one of those dinners, as Carl was walking Mel to the door, that he collapsed and passed. And I thought, if you had to be with anybody, be with your best friend. As hard as that must have been for Mel, I bet it would have been one of the ways that Carl would have preferred to move along.
I think for sure.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is you've always said you're not a comedian, but you kind of are. I mean, if you wanted to go, you're very funny. And if you wanted to go, and you do sing, and you do this, and have you gone on tour? Have you, forgive my ignorance, I looked it up, but I couldn't find it, because you could put an hour show together easily.
I've thought of it. I mean, I really think of myself as a broadcaster first and foremost, and I'm good as a reactive comedian, if you will. I mean, I love, for example, one of the like Christmas morning for me, every time we did a taping was Hollywood Squares, when I had 9 of these people, you know, Whoopi and Bruce Valanche and Gilbert Gottfried, and the list goes on to play off. But sometimes if I was not in a great mood on a taping day, because we'd do 5 in a day, as you know, because you did a version of it yourself, I would just sort of sit back and be a fan. I said, look, I'm not going to try to banter. I'm just going to be a fan. And inevitably, that would prime the pump. If I didn't try, it was easier. I'd get there quicker. But I've never thought of myself. I tried doing stand-up once in New York one summer. I stayed with friends. And I don't even know if the club still exists. It was the Magic Shop or the Magic Store or something like that.
I don't know that place.
Yeah. And it was a bunch of magicians and oddly me. And the only good line I had was, and now my main trick is to make the audience disappear. But I didn't have a stage persona that I felt comfortable with, or a voice that, you know, I find that easier through broadcasting than I did on stage in clubs.
Well, you're also someone that embraced the broadcasting of it all. There's some people now, game shows are very popular. Again, after they said they weren't going to be anymore, then they find out that they can't do a lot of other kinds of shows because of our world right now.
Yeah.
And you embraced it right away. You always wanted to be, Hollywood Squares was a dream gig for you when you first got it. Were you over the moon happy because you followed John?
I turned it down. I turned it down originally because I didn't want to move. Our girls were going to school in Connecticut, and I had they wanted me to move here to California, where oddly I am now. But at that point, we weren't willing to take the girls out of school. And I knew what the taping schedule was like. It was on the weekends, 5 shows on Saturday, 5 on Sunday. There was no reason for me to be cooling my heels in Southern California the other 5 days of the week if I wasn't working.
Right.
So I turned it down, and happily they came around and said, never mind. We'll fly you out every time we're shooting. And it was wonderful, but it wasn't because I didn't have any plan. I mean, I joke that my career has all the logic of a hostage note, you know, sort of cut and pasted from a bunch of different sources, because it only looks logical in hindsight. I didn't expect to get into television, for example.
Right.
I thought I would be a radio guy. When I was in my hometown, I did a morning radio show. And in the evening, I was part of a mime troupe. So a buddy of mine said, it's weird because when we hear you, we can't see you. And when we see you, we can't hear you.
Well, we're on YouTube right now, but mainly this is an audio thing for the audience.
Sure,
Could you do some mime right now for us?
Yes, I will now do walking against, and this is appropriate given the recent spate of weather incidents. This is walking against a Category 4 wind.
So you should have flipped back on your chair. Oh, that was it? You were doing it? I'm sorry.
I'm just doing it. So
I cut you off. Please do it again.
No. I just figured since most people aren't actually watching it on YouTube, they'll have no idea whether I did it. I can do this. I can do, you know, the obligatory.
You're very good at that.
Thank you. You know, a mime is a terrible thing to waste.
Oh my God. And that's why you didn't do
and
stand up?
Here's something. This is brushing your teeth, but it looks like something else.
That's very good.
Yeah.
So you have a silent movie quality. Do you have a Stan Laurel quality to you?
Thank you. Thank you. The one dance I did in season 2 of the dancing show was an homage to Chaplin, Keaton, Dick Van Dyke, etc., which it was a quick step it was one of the slowest quick steps in modern dance, but it was really an homage to that. It was designed to be sort of a comedic quick step to Judy Garland's "Come On, Get Happy," which
I
was
saw it and it was lovely.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, okay, you've had literally, I mean, you have not been off the air. You did Hollywood Squares from 1998 to 2004.
Right.
You did America's Funniest Videos from 2001 to 2015.
Right.
You did Dancing with the Stars from 2005 to 2019.
Yeah.
I mean, you're 150 according to this.
That's right. Yeah.
And you've been able to fit in a Masked Singer taco and a Star Trek that is most memorable. I mean, we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Sure.
The Dancing with the Stars thing. Now, I was asked to dance on there. I had a sitcom called Surviving Suburbia, and I was there for a moment. I sat in your audience with Cynthia Stevenson, and the president of the network said that he would only pick up my series if I appeared on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, a little blackmail, huh?
Well, he was not there much longer, if you recall.
Was that Steve?
Yeah, He was kind of the beginning of the cancelizations.
Yeah.
And but we're not going to talk about it. But I think he did. But anyway, he was very kind to put the show on the air because it was a really good show, this Surviving Suburbia, and it didn't get its due. But we were on after you guys, got a great number because we were on after you with no commercial, and you're always so supportive.
We did a promo together.
We did
for that.
Yeah, because you're love is what you are.
Oh, stop.
That's true. And you got great eyes and you can dance.
Thank you.
So they wanted me to go on, and he said, you got to dance. And I sent him x-rays of my knees because I had surgeries. Right? And he still didn't pick it up because he doesn't want a note from your doctor.
That's not how networks work.
No.
Yeah.
Now, when that show started, it was another dream gig, correct?
We didn't know what it was. I mean, Andrea Wong, who was the head of reality TV for the network at the time, she told me later that when she was pitching the show, which was an American version of the British hit Strictly Come Dancing, people in the meeting wouldn't even make eye contact with her. They thought it was such a bad idea. And to be honest, I didn't think it was a great idea either. And it was my wife and my agent at the time who kind of double teamed me and said, no, dance is very big. You should at least give it a shot. And it was going to be a 6-week summer show. And I was on break from AFV anyway. And Hollywood Squares had gone away in 2004. So I figured, okay, so, if it's a hit, it'll come back every summer. I'll have a nice little summer gig. But I had no idea that it would be what it became, and they're about to celebrate their 30th season right now. So,
well, they owe a lot to you.
I have no comment.
I understand. And Andrea Wong, I always liked.
She's wonderful.
Yeah. So here you are on this show. It becomes part of American culture.
Yeah.
It is the Masked Singer of its time, even though it's So you went through, I don't want to go into anything that would get picked up. That would be annoying for you.
Oh, don't worry. I can be wonderfully evasive.
I love you for that. But my God, it's 14 years you were there.
Yeah.
And it was what you started to allude before over some of your opinions that people didn't agree with. Would you want to expound on that?
Sure. I think, look, the bottom line for me is that the great majority of the time that I was there, it was wonderful. There were personnel changes behind the scenes, and those people and I did not see eye to eye about how best to present the show, particularly when we were at a point where it was on only once a year. The spring season had gone away. We were only doing a fall season. So between, see if I have it right, 2018 and 2019, that summer, had a couple of meetings because we had been off the air since the previous November, and they wanted to get my input as to what I thought we should be doing when we came back. And so we were on the cusp of an election year as well. So I said, the only thing that I would say is let's play to our strength. Let's be an oasis for 2 hours every week from all of the nonsense and the divisiveness going on right now. And just let's not put political people in there. Let's keep it, and they both, the two people I had lunches with separately, agreed wholeheartedly until they booked the show. And I was really quite caught by surprise and taken aback, and felt a bit misled, and prepared a statement that I released that did not specify a person or a party, because that was never the issue with me. Whether it was somebody I voted for or didn't, I didn't think a political person was an appropriate booking for the show. But
And
also,
I'm on the same page as you on that. I think a lot of people were.
Yeah, for the time we were going to be on, which was really on the cusp of the presidential election campaign. So we differed on that. I was public about that. I don't think that sat well with the producer or the network.
And there were two individuals of that ilk that came in, correct? And that was
one
in the same season?
Yeah, no, one in particular. Yeah.
From a colder part of the world.
But I told that person in one of the only hallway conversations we had, I said, look, whether it was you or somebody from the other major party whom I would have voted for, that wasn't the issue. It was, I would have released the same statement if it was somebody I supported.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they belonged here now.
Well, that's what's wrong with our world right now.
Yeah. I just thought it would be a nice place to take a break for everybody for 2 hours a week. But, they're entitled to do the show the way they think is best. And so I look back at the time I spent there with really great fondness for the vast majority of it. And also there are people there on the show performing that I still care about, and I want them to have long careers. So, I want people to still watch it and support them and understand that, sure, it's different, but there's still very, very talented people who are going to be on your screens in the fall.
Yeah. It's interesting because you want to entertain people.
Yeah.
And that's more than just a broadcaster. That's also a showman. That's someone, show person that wants to make people feel good. And you're able to do it by being their friend through the lens. Right. And you're doing it. I've been in that building. I mean, it's a gigantic, crazy stage.
Yeah.
And it's like Beauty and the Beast ballroom. It's meant to be.
My favorite comment from some friends would say, like we'd go to commercial and I'd come over to see if they were enjoying the show. And they would say, well, we can't hear you because of all the din of 700 people in the band. And I said, well, I'm not talking to you,
That happens a lot.
Yeah. I was, and they got it. I mean, I'm talking to that person on the other side of the lens. You got people to talk to. You're surrounded by 700 people here. They might just be all alone in their living room. So
when that thing ended, we've all had things end, and especially if they're incredibly successful, and things maybe get jump started and then don't continue. You do a pilot, and it's like, but I love that. I don't get that. How? What? But with that show, I would imagine. How did you deal with the people would be interested in this? I think. Was there a blue period where you were
not really, because in all candor, it wasn't the show that I left was not the show that I loved.
There you
go.
So
at the end of the season that turned out to be my last season, I kind of knew. So I took everything out of my dressing room that I really wanted. And
did you think people were going to go in and do the old? I just
felt like it was kind of obvious that we were kind of butting heads, and it wasn't a pleasant. It was great to have Erin at my side because she and I just kind of locked arms and did the show. And I would challenge anybody to look at videos of that season and see anything different. I think we were able to maintain that connection with the viewers and keep it uplifting and fun. So that was, I mean, hell, I did a live show hours after finding out my dad died. So I can compartmentalize.
Oh man.
And, so I wasn't surprised that that was my last season. So there was no blue period. Actually, I think Aaron and I had more fun being fired than virtually anybody. When I found out who they replaced me with and that person had the same initials as me, my tweet was, well, I guess I'm not getting back my monogram towels.
So that show ended not long ago for you.
No, it was 20, what is it? 20, where are it's hard to, I can't remember where we are given the pandemic. So yeah, so 2019 would have been my last season. So it's, it's pretty far in the rear view mirror for me at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on to other stuff. And I mean, speaking of pilots, I can't get into too many specifics, but I traded in the A for an N. I'm working with that other network. And and we did a pilot in June that we're waiting to hear about, but it was a lot of fun.
National Geographic?
Yeah.
Nat Geo.
That's me. I'm the new Jack Hanna.
I always loved Jack Hanna.
I did too. He did Hollywood Squares with us too. Him and I think he changed animals every show. He had something different in the square with him.
I was offered that show before you.
Is that the
when I was
version
12
that I did? Yeah.
And I couldn't do it because I finally got a job, and so I couldn't do it. But you're a guy that just goes because you're such a and I have a good work ethic.
Yeah.
But I'm an emotional cat. You have I mean, people after what happened at the dancing show would have belabored it, written a book about it, made a whole thing about it instead of going, hey, I did the gig. It ran its course. It was good to my family. You know what nobody needs to hear? A whiny millionaire. It's bullshit because actors, people in showbiz, they complain if they're working or not working. And at 65, I have learned a big bucket of shut the F up, it's just it's not needed. It's
no, it isn't. And it's so self-absorbed. I mean, look, I had great good fortune. I mean, I had 2 network shows running simultaneously for the better part of a decade and a half. If I went to Vin on AFV and told him, I thought it was appropriate for me to sort of pass the pinata stick on to somebody else in the 25th season, because I would have done it for 15 years at that point. And I think that as much fun as I had and as fond of those people as I still am, you can only introduce so many crotch hit videos before you've done it.
See, I'm more emotional than you. I was 8 years. Yeah. And then they said, we'd have you back, but we want you to take a cut because I'd gotten into heavy money.
Right.
And then I just said no. And then I was told, no, they want to go more MTV is what Vin told me. And then they had Daisy and John Fugelsang, who's a brilliant broadcaster now.
He is.
And he's always a good comedian, but I didn't know him
right
when he'd hosted the show. I remember him making some joke about me, and I took it to heart rather than realizing he's one of us, he's a special guy. And then they had Richard Kind for a moment.
Oh, they did, yeah. Like whoever the sitcom star of the moment was, they did a series of specials with him and others hosting, I think.
And then you were the perfect. I thought you were the quintessential. Mine, I tried to turn it into a variety show. We were doing these big extravaganza things. We'd have a bunch of stars on all the time.
Yeah.
And then, we worked hard. I mean, we were up to like 30-something episodes a season sometimes. You had big orders also, right?
We did. I think the most we did was, of course, ours was an hour. Yours was 30 minutes, as you mentioned.
But we did 2 years that were an hour.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
We did 24, I think was our typical order was 24. They'd order like 22 and add a few extras as the season went along, because it still is the ultimate utility player. I mean, as well as it does on Sunday nights, you can plug that show in, and Alfonso's proved it. It still is a demo leader in the time period. And if something else craps out on the schedule, they can always slap AFV in there for a temporary fix. So it's really durable, really durable.
Well, the other thing is, everything that's on YouTube, everything that's on the internet, everybody's post has the same girl falling down on the ice, has the same crotch hit, has the pants falling down. Now a lot of fights, more than you want to see. You're not going to run fights on airplanes, on AFV.
No.
But it's the resin of the best videos, some that they buy and some that people send in like the old days to get some money.
Yep.
And it is what people need desperately is to laugh. That's what's deficient the most right now.
I have to tell you, one of the things I did last year, I'm still doing. Last year, I did it to raise money for the SAG After COVID Fund. This year, I'm doing it for MPTF, the Motion Picture Television Fund, is the cameos. And I remember your absolute disbelief when I booked one with you just to see what it would get me.
Right.
But I found so many people who would send requests for those who said, we grew up with you watching AFV. Sunday nights was a ritual to get the whole family together. And there's just, how can you not be warmed by that? I mean, It's just lovely. It's just lovely.
It got rid of any scissors. It got rid of any cynicism with scissors. Here, I have scissors here.
Running with Cynicism is a fine new book.
I actually cut my hair with cynicism yesterday.
There you go.
But yeah, it puts sincerity in. And it's the same thing with Full House for me. When, people grew up watching it. So you're part of their lives. Yeah. We learned this from the masters. You would hear from Carson, you're in their living room.
Yeah.
You're there in their bedroom with them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And yeah, I still marvel at here. There was one lovely cameo I did. Dad asked me to do one for his son. The family was about to move to Sydney, Australia. Now this was, I think his son was probably not even 10. And he was having a hard time with the idea of moving. And so I happen to have really dear friends in Sydney, Australia. So I was able to say to him, I know you're nervous, but I can tell you from personal experience, Sydney's pretty cool. I got friends there. You're going to make new friends. It's going to be new adventures for you. So good luck and let me know how it goes and all that. So about, I don't know, maybe less than a week later, I got an Instagram private message from the dad. And he said, I just want to thank you. That's the first time I've seen my son smile in weeks. And I thought, it doesn't take us much to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's wonderful when it can be impactful and we can kind of give back a little bit.
And it's personal in a way that nothing else is. I actually, when I started doing Cameo, it was, I'm going to help my foundation, start my research foundation, give money to things. And then you also realize that I love it. I mean, I don't do commercials for people. They ask you, hey, would you sell my product?
Yeah, I don't do that.
I'm the best dentist in the city. Would you please tell us, But it's, and I still correspond with them. I'm sorry, I can't do this. This is a commercial. Yeah. But when somebody goes, I love you, I grew up, give me a hard time, or I'm proposing to my wife, would you add to it? And I went, is this a throuple or what is that? Is it too personal?
Yeah, I've done a few of those where somebody wanted me to, what was it? It was, recently I did one because the couple wanted me to announce that they were pregnant. They were going to have a weekend gathering with all their friends. And so I had on my iPhone ready to play just really loud, obnoxious baby crying. And so I said, hello, it's me, Tom, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to say, I know you were having a great weekend. There was something else that I was supposed to say. I can't remember what it was. And then I just hit the sound of this baby wailing away and went, I'll try to think of it. Bye. And they told me that was perfect. That was perfect. Yeah. It was saying it without saying it, sort of.
Right.
Yeah.
Had you had thoughts, because I always have, when you have a bunch of people in a studio, what if there's an earthquake? What if the power failure? Did you have any of that stuff happen on all those years?
There was, the famous incident of Marie Osmond fainting on live television, for which I got too much credit for handling it, because essentially all I did was throw to a commercial. But there was a really,
mouth to mouth. No, we're going to a break.
Yeah, we're going to a break. Let's let the paramedics do their thing. But there was one day, and it was when Craig Ferguson was still hosting Late Late Show, which also shoots on the same Television City lot, and all power went out throughout Television City, and Craig did the show by flashlight, and I couldn't wait to. I was thrilled, and because I thought this is going to give me all new stuff to play with. If we can get anything on the air. And our executive, our showrunner at the time, Rob Wade, who's now I think still over at Fox, he passed me in the corridor and he stopped and he looked at me and he could see the eager expression on my face. And he went, "You love this shit, don't you?" I go, "Yeah, I do."
What happened? What did you do?
The power came back on about a half hour before the live show, and I had to do it like.
Oh, how disappointing!
I know. I really was. I really was looking forward to. But that would have been the thing had Aaron and I stayed with the show, because we had texted about it with the pandemic and knowing that they'd have to make all kinds of allotments for no studio audience and all that. That our goal then as the co-hosts would be to make it okay, to make it fun, to treat what a lot of people would regard as a liability as an advantage. So that's the joy of doing live. So that's really the only thing that I regretted not being able to do was weave in that playfulness with the restrictions that might have been present.
Yeah. It's wonderful to know and have the chops from doing it for so long that you have everything set, everything is controlled. You know exactly what you're going to do so that things can go off the rails.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Because I'm very disciplined in my life. I mean, Lois could tell you that I'm fairly regimented about when I get up, when I go to the gym, when I do that, when I meditate, when I do this, that, and the other thing. And I really believe all of that regimentation is the foundation for me to be completely off the rails when I work, when I'm, when I'm live, that I trust that I've got my feet, as an old theater teacher said, "Are you on the deck? How on the deck are you?" And, I was on the deck ready for whatever happened and feeling free enough to play with it. Now, every so often, as you're on live TV 2 hours a week, I put my foot in my mouth. But, playing the percentages, I think I batted more than 500. So,
right.
Yeah.
And you do, it's a famous cover of your book. TM is part of your life, right?
Transcendental meditation. I've done it for now almost 40 years. Yeah.
Now, can you lift off the ground? Do you lift off?
Depending on how flatulent on any given day I am.
Yeah. I can only do it with a turkey baster, but I won't go into it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No, but have you ever felt yourself do that?
No, not to that extent. I tell you though, with regular meditation, there is a moment. I meditated this morning, as a matter of fact, and a few minutes in, I can feel that almost pure energy sensation that I'm not really sure where my legs are, my arms are anymore. It just feels like pure energy, and that sense, that almost intuitive knowledge that there is connective tissue going on amongst all of us of whatever species.
Sure.
I'm not a religious person. I call myself an agnostic, which is atheism for cowards.
It's a good book.
Yeah, yeah. But I do have a sense when I meditate regularly of that sort of connection that that we have, whether we admit to it or not. And that's, I think that's the most beneficial aspect of it for me. And also that it helps me determine, as life's inevitable stresses come at me, which ones need my real attention and which I can just let go by or roll off my back. I can prioritize better when I meditate regularly and work out a lot.
Mm-hmm. That's inspiring to me, and that will help me with what I have to do tomorrow, because I think I need to. I do Pilates, and
Oh, do you?
that's my instructor's name, so my wife's not happy. She's Greek. Hey, I'll be here all week.
Yeah.
Who came up with "Try the Veal"? That's the best. I don't know.
Oh,
It's
I know
gotta
it
be
is.
gotta be from the 40s. But
One of my favorites is "And Bob's Your Uncle." I love that as a capper to any odd sentence. And Bob's your uncle.
there was a comedian who I really found funny. He's no longer with us. His name was Jimmy Samuels, and he would do a joke which was, he went by a place and it said steak and lobster dancing nightly. And then he would actually he would show a steak and a lobster with his hands, what that would look like. And the steak was a clenched fist and the lobster was just a peace sign of sorts. It was a very funny joke. It's just a solid joke.
It reminds me of that book on grammar, Eats, Shoots, and Leaves. You know, depending on where you put the comma, if you put one at all, it means something completely different.
That's almost the old school F, marry, kill.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
So, Tom, first thing before I go into a couple of fun things, let's talk about something really disturbing. How you have a process to get through the times that we all are going through, which is you exercise and you meditate.
Yeah.
And I assume you binge on some shows? Do you do
that? Actually, Lois and I started binging. It was quite accidental, but we ended up kind of binging almost exclusively on Canadian television for a period of time. And so here are the shows I'd recommend if you like period murder mysteries. There's a show that has 14 seasons called Murdoch Mysteries. From Canada. And the lovely thing about having edibles at night, we watched all 14 seasons, and then we went back and started season 1 again. And because as the evening went on, we got a little more stoned. We didn't remember who the killer was, or it was like watching them new all over again. So there's that. Also, a couple of wonderful sitcoms from Canada. Corner Gas is one. It's set in Saskatchewan, a little gas station diner. Brent Budd is the creator and lead and writer. Wonderful ensemble. And also Kim's Convenience, which is a Korean Canadian family and a small convenience store. And it's I think they have 4 or 5 seasons. And one of the stars of that show is going to be the star of a Marvel movie, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So he's doing okay for himself.
Right. And it sounds like 2 of those shows are small town, like Schitt's Creek in scope. Yeah. And Schitt's Creek being the most notable import from Canada. But these other shows, Kim's Convenience, Corner Gas, and in a different genre, Murdoch Mysteries, all really, really fine and got us through a lot of the pandemic. And because of social media, going back to what we were talking about earlier, I've become friends with a number of the cast members of those shows, because I would always go on Twitter if I thought a show was binge worthy, because we were all in this sort of, pandemic soup together, and recommend them. And so I ended up having a lunch when he was in LA with the star of Murdoch Mysteries, Yannick Besson, and I've become Twitter buddies with Brent Butt and some of the other cast members from Corner Gas and Kim's Convenience. And it's been fun. It's been fun to sort of have social media as a means of promoting people who I've come upon, who I just love, like this Canadian comedian Ryan George I was mentioning.
Yeah.
I've been able to do that too, and I've actually made some friends, which is it's unusual, and it's also nice when it's. I guess that's the nice part about whatever the word celebrity means.
Yeah.
And people feel like they're safe talking to you, because if a stranger direct messages you, that can be a scary moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a definite feeling. One of the lovely sentiments expressed just a day or so ago from somebody who asked for a cameo was, like I was saying, we feel like you're part of the family. So we'd
But
love
you
to
haven't
have.
seen their family.
Well, well, they haven't seen mine, so it's fair.
Here's my uncle.
Yeah.
You're just like him.
Yeah. Get out of the trench coat.
I got no teeth. Want some nitrous? So, okay. So you've had some honors that you've loved professionally. One you talk about a lot, and that was your Star Trek
Oh,
appearance. Yeah. So how long ago was that now?
Well, that was back when I was working with Whoopi on Hollywood Squares. So they were shooting the final movie with the Next Generation gang, the gang led by Patrick Stewart, and she played a character named Guinan that she is going to reprise on the new Star Trek Picard that they're shooting. But I knew she was going to be shooting. I was going to be in town for the whole week because I think I had AFV tapings that week too. And so I asked if, hey, can I just stop by the set and see everybody? And she got me a drive on at Paramount, and I got to hang out with the whole cast. And during the meal break, Rick Berman, who was the overseer of the Star Trek franchise back then, invited Whoopi and me to go over to see the sets of Star Trek Enterprise, the version of the show that Scott Bakula was the captain on.
Yeah.
So we're going through the sets, and I started go, oh yeah, this is where the Suliban come back from the 24th century and screw with the warp coil and all. And I'm just, geeking out. And of course, everybody stopped dead when Guinan walked on to the bridge. Scott and the entire cast of that show stopped cold. So as we were walking through the other sets and I was geeking out, Rick turned to me and said, you watched the show? I said, yeah, no, I like it. It's sort of a prequel and a sequel. It's like a Reese's peanut butter cup of sci-fi all at once. And he said, can you act? I went, so he turned to Whoopi and he goes, can he act? Now, she had never seen me act. She had seen me ad lib.
Right.
But she's such a sweetie. She went, oh, he's good.
Oh, she is the best, by the way.
She's the best.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing the whole opening scene of an episode in their first season called Oasis, and had the great privilege of showing up at Paramount. I think I was there an hour ahead of my call, which was like 5:30, and I was in the parking lot at 4:30, like a kid on Christmas morning. And Michael Westmore did my makeup. And for anybody who knows anything about makeup, a family of royalty in Hollywood, it's the Westmore family. And Rick was great. Rick Berman said, just make sure you can see that it's still Tom, just through the eyes, but everything else is all prosthetics. And I got to play an alien trader of exotic goods on having dinner in the mess with the captain and the science officer. And it was great. It was just such a fun time.
How many days were you there?
Just one. I tried to, it was like 4.5 hours getting into makeup and about 2 hours getting out of it. And I tried to keep one little piece of the prosthetic as a sort of a souvenir, but they wouldn't let me. So season 4, when they knew they were going off the air, they had been canceled, and I was on the lot for something else. And I just stopped by to say hi to Rick. And he said, we're having a bunch of friends of the show back for some of the final episodes. Would you like to do a little cameo thing? I said, sure, I'd be happy to. So it was a real small, just a few lines. That's okay. That wasn't the point. So I get there and they're putting the makeup on. It's this sort of lizard look. Oh, this is great. And I figure they're done. And Michael goes, no, we have to put on the breathing device. And they put on this other latex thing that covered my entire face, only one eye.
Oh my God.
And I walk onto the set, and LeVar Burton was directing that episode, and he looked at me and he goes, Tom, was it really worth it? And I ended up having to ADR all the dialogue in New York a couple of weeks later anyway. But it was worth it.
But why? Because you were so muffled?
Yeah. I was under like 3-layer. I mean, it would have been pandemic safe. I was under like 3 layers of latex. So it sounded like Charlie Brown's teacher.
Put on the breathing device.
Right. Yeah.
That's what you don't want to hear.
Yeah, no, but it was great. And it was such fun to be part of, one of the final episodes. And again, it just underscored for me how wonderful Whoopi is. When we first were announcing our version of Hollywood Squares, we were at NATPE, the convention for syndicated shows in New Orleans, I think it was. And there was a whole group of photographers. It was Whoopi and me, and they're taking pictures and all. And I had never experienced anything quite like that.
Right.
And Robert Townsend was at another exhibit, and he wanted to say hi to Whoopi. So he came over to say hi. And I got up knowing that the press would want pictures of the two of them together. I got up and started to leave, and Whoopi grabbed my arm and go, "Where are you going?" I said, "Well, they want you guys." And she, "No, you get over here." So she pulled me back to her side. Meanwhile, the photographer, standing probably only about 4 or 5 feet away from me, turned to his fellow photographers and said, "Don't worry, I can cut out the white guy."
Oh God.
But see, for my sense of humor, I love that. That's what show business is.
Right.
Don't look to show business to fulfill your deep psychological needs. It's a cruel mistress.
That is a quote everybody should listen to, because some people just want stardom. And a lot of these younger people always say, "What's the secret?" And I say, "Do it because you love it, and do it because you have no choice but to do it."
Yeah.
Because it changes, and there's hills and valleys, even with the most successful career.
And it's fun. It's fun to. I just got cast in for a one-day shoot on an NBC sitcom that'll be on in the fall, and they sent me my stuff. And I'm looking, and I still love, okay, they wrote this. What can I imbue in here to give them more than they think they've got?
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what's the fun of it. If other people like it, or you end up being a quote celebrity or not, that's all gravy. It's all about the mechanics of doing it, the sort of the fun of getting into the weeds and challenging yourself to bring something different to it than you might have done 5 years ago or 10 years ago, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And that's what I'm working on right now. It's about the work and competing with yourself, pushing yourself.
Yeah. That's the only competition that makes any sense.
Really, it's the other competition of saying he got my part. It's like, no, he didn't. That's his part.
No.
Yeah. He didn't get the part.
Right.
And there are people that go, they still believe that. And then they're bitter and yada, yada. Speaking of competition.
Yes.
So I did something to follow in your footsteps, because I did it because I had been asked to do this show, the famed Masked Singer. And Craig Plestis said, "Would you do the show?" And I kept going, "No, I don't think so. I don't know." And then 9 months in quarantine, pandemic, they called. I said, "Please pick me up. Pick me up now."
Yes,
put me in a mascot suit. So please tell me your taco experience. It was the cutest costume on earth. You had a little pepper head.
Yeah, a little tomato, and I had a microphone that was like a Tabasco or something microphone, Tabasco bottle. That happened. It's such a Hollywood story there, because I had sung a song on a Mr. Rogers tribute album, along with Vanessa Williams and Mickey Dolenz and a bunch of other people. And a friend of mine, who at that time was the executive producer of Masked Singer, happened to hear that. And on that season that I ended up appearing on, they had one opening sort of late in the casting. So I'm over it. Now, I'm going to name drop, so get ready to catch up. So I'm over it.
That's my master. I got my master's in that.
So I'm over at Shatner's house for Monday Night Football, right? And my phone goes off, and I see who's calling, and I have a sense what she might be calling about. So I sneak off into the bathroom. I take the call. And my friend Izzy Pick goes, "So we have one slot open on Masked Singer. Would you be interested? I heard the Mr. Rogers thing, so you can sing." I said, "Yeah, that might be fun. What do you got?" She goes, "We only have 2 costumes left."
That's what I got.
One is a taco, and one is a jellyfish. And I said,
they use jellyfish in my regime.
Right. Yeah. I saw that they ended up using it. I don't want to be a jellyfish. The taco, it was the most bizarre thing to get into.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, well, I'm sure because we're in the mask and everything, we can pre-record the singing, right?
No.
You're singing live. Oh, good God. The first song, which was, I only did 3, and I was so happy to get voted off after 3. I hadn't worked that hard in years. I did a Sinatra ballad, "Fly Me to the Moon," and that's in my wheelhouse. Those kind of things. So that one went great. But only a couple hours later, we were shooting the second show, and I had to do an Elvis song, "Bossa Nova Baby." And that was a very different rhythm, and I was having more trouble with that. I was so concerned that I'd forget the lyrics that I only forgot the dance steps. I did but I enjoyed it. And the weird thing for me was, at that time, I don't know if it was when you were doing it, it was on the same stage that for years I had done Dancing with the Stars.
Oh my!
At Television City. So as you know, they pick you up and you have the mask and you have the hoodie and you can't talk to anybody, and they take you right to your trailer.
Did you have the sweatshirt that says "Don't talk to me"?
That's right. And so I was surrounded by people who I had worked with for years on the crew, craft services, and I could not interact with any of them because
I knew people too. I couldn't say a thing.
Yeah. And I found out later that Cheryl from craft services knew it was me because of something I unconsciously did. As I was, apparently, I don't even remember doing it. As I was walking by her, because I'm very fond of her, I just kind of patted her shoulder unconsciously, and she went, "Tom does that." She knew, she figured it was me.
Well, you have a recognizable voice. I mean, it's hugely.
The funny thing was when they thought I was you, and I'm 5'9", and you're what, 6'3", 6'4"? Yeah. So what do you think? They just crammed Saget into a 5'9" taco.
Well, you did it pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
And I was pandemic, so it was scary, and it was very careful. And they didn't have any mishaps under my time there. I only did 2 songs, and I had a choice between Squiggly Monster and Broccoli. And I said, I don't want to be Broccoli.
No.
Turns out Broccoli beat me. It was Paul Anka.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. Paul Anka.
I didn't know, Tom, was that they put you in a lineup. I always said I'm not doing competition shows. Never will I do it. When I had not $1, I wouldn't go on Star Search. I just wouldn't do it. I didn't believe in me competing. I didn't think that's what entertainment was.
Sure.
And here I am in a lineup with jellyfish and lips and broccoli. And I'm getting annoyed. And I'm like, who the hell is Broccoli?
Right.
I got to beat Broccoli. And you had a small head. I had a giant underwater diving helmet.
Yeah.
It was like 30 pounds on my shoulders.
God. Yeah.
So it was hard to sing through that. Very hard.
Yeah.
But I got a hall pass. But I got 2 songs in, and I was happy I did it. It just felt good to entertain people. And
it was fun.
Yeah, you really had fun.
I did. And I had fun because I fooled all of them. And 3 of the 4 judges I knew.
Yeah.
I'd never met Ken, but Nicole had won a season of Dancing with the Stars. Robin had performed on a couple of seasons. And Jenny and I go back so far, she wrote a blurb for the cover of my book in 2009. So the fact that I smoked all of them, that was the real
That's amazing.
Win for me. Yeah. Well, as a matter of fact, when I took off the tomato head, and Jenny saw me, she disappeared behind the judging panel.
I had a thing happen when they harmonize your voice when you're talking, that it's disguised for the judges. But Nick Cannon can hear both.
Right.
He can hear your actual voice. And I've known Nick a long time. So when I spoke, and even though it was getting affected through the microphone, he just looked at me like, he just knew. And I kind of put my arm on him, which I did because I know him. It was like weird because I forgot. Wait a minute. Squiggly Monster, you idiot. And then Ken had been texting me saying, you really should come on as a guest judge 2 nights before my first appearance. And I was like, I would love to. My schedule's really weird. I couldn't tell him
Yeah, of course not. Of course
that
not.
I'm doing it. And Robin, we have a connection to Robin because that's our
Todd.
friend,
Yeah.
Todd
Todd's
Hicks.
nephew.
And Todd wrote with me and Robert Arnott of first 8 years of America's Funniest Home Videos, and then was your exec producer and writer.
Yeah, he was with me for my entire 15-year run. Yeah. Yeah.
Very loyal guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Another good Canadian.
There's a lot of good Canadians.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all going to move there soon.
Yeah. Well, I was primed. Had it gone differently, we were looking at real estate.
Well, I still love this country, and it was interesting. I was listening to someone talk the other day. I can't remember who it was. Someone I respect, saying it might have been on a show. It might have been Bill Maher of all people. I think it was. And he was just saying, let's look at when you say you don't like America, look at the conditions all over the world. And he just flashed to other places, and it's just a difficult time that people are going through, and you are one of those people that has brought so much entertainment and happiness and had such a good spirit about all of it, much more than me. Even though I have that heart and spirit, I still have that comedian. Bad boy. Your eyebrow just goes up. I act it out. Here's some things your grandma might not like.
Right.
But you just do something really special. Are you allowed to talk about the other show that you're going to do the pilot for?
Well, I won't give you the name of it.
The genre?
It's a game show, and it is very reminiscent of something I've done in the past in some aspects. But the nicest thing for me, I'm working with Harry Friedman, who was executive producer for so many years of both Wheel and Jeopardy. We're having lunch Friday. I'm sure he has good gossip.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it's what was fun for me was to get back on a stage and know that it was still fun, to that I could still break up the crew and create. It's important to me that the environment be good for everybody, that everybody's having a good time. And after we shot on a Monday and Tuesday back in June, and the best response I got is, as I was walking to my car, one of the young production assistants came up to me and she said, "Everybody's having such a good time. And it's a Monday." I thought that's the best. That's the best right there. So we're waiting to hear if it's picked up. We're hearing, as one does in Hollywood sometimes, there is great buzz. But I'm a New Englander. It's not real until it's real,
I know.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling the ink will dry, and we will.
Yeah, and it, to me, it was another good sign that another NBC show called and asked me if I'd be available to come by and do a little cameo. So it's fun, and I got to say that at this particular point in my career, I'm just looking to have a good time. I don't really need to host anything anymore.
Right.
The only reason I agreed to this particular project that we did the pilot for was who came and asked me if I'd be interested. And when Harry Friedman shows up, who's the Obi-Wan Kenobi of that genre, and he's excited about it. That was a pretty persuasive argument. So, and we had a ball. We really did. And so I'm hoping it gets picked up.
I think it will. And, I don't want to put a kibosh on it by saying that, but I'm just saying people love you and want you in their living rooms, not just personally. But, no, but you're familiar and you feel, and people are safe with you, You're just a very special guy. You're really...
Well, thanks, buddy.
I'm just going to say this because what the hell? You're a really good man. You just really are.
Thank you. You too.
I'm working on it.
I think some people are surprised, I think, that we're good buddies. I think
I don't understand that.
I know. Well, they have the image that, he hosted the show and then he hosted that. They probably don't like each other. And you should have been a fly on the wall. Anybody thinking that when Alfonso and Bob and I got together, and the three of us had a few hours of just pure joy. I mean, it was just,
Yeah, and we were
it was like
laughing
the Three
about,
Amigos. Yeah,
because we're talking about the same clips we had to introduce.
Right.
Not we had to, but the things that really cracked us up. And we were actually, people would have enjoyed being a fly on our pants.
yeah.
Because we were talking about, oh God, when they run those videos, what's your funniest one? And that's off the interview. That was just us hanging.
I would imagine the show we did together, I hope it's part of the Disney Plus lineup, the 20th season. It was titled The Summit with Saget. And I encourage all of you listening or watching to go look for it, because you will see me primarily be an audience for Bob. Yeah, I remember you'd go off on riffs, and I'd basically barely get to the clips in time because you had me in stitches.
But they left it in. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah. Oh, there was a lot of stuff. There was something you did with some ad lib with a pencil. I can't remember the gist of it, other than it completely destroyed me.
Well, that's what I love about live to tape also, is that the spontaneity. I grew up watching the Dean Martin show and going, boy, that would be fun, you know?
Yes. You know who I would often go after a show, because she was in one season and then she came back frequently to be in the audience. And after many shows, the two of us would leave Television City and go over to the Grove and go to, I think it was the Whisper Lounge was my haunt. And we'd have drinks, Florence Henderson.
Oh.
And to talk to her, she was absolutely lovely, about working with Dean Martin on that show. And,
right.
and of course, Florence was wonderful at live improv too. She could handle anything. Yeah. And Dean Martin had that sort of, let's put on a show. Let's not work too hard at it. Let's have fun. And
his rehearsals, I understand, were legendary.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll look at the cards. Yeah. Okay. I stand here.
Yeah.
All right, Greg, I'll see you later.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
My bad. That's the worst impression of Dean Martin
sounded a little bit like Will Geer.
His spirit is in Topanga Canyon right now.
Yes, it is. Will Geer's Theatricum Botanicum, I think, is the name of it.
It's quite
right?
beautiful. There's a lot of benches made of logs.
Oh, sweet.
And so that will be wonderful. Do you want to write another book? Do you want to?
It's funny. I tried, I was 70 pages into a comic novel, which I think I just needed to do to vent sort of creative energy in the early days of the pandemic. And then I just kind of lost interest. It was almost like turning off a light switch. One day I didn't write, and then 2 days went by, and then a month, and I went, oh, all right, I'm at page 70, aren't I? Yeah. So maybe I'll go back to it.
Hello, HarperCollins. Yeah, you don't have to call me back.
Yeah, I'm returning the advance.
Well, Tom, I hope to see you soon. We'll figure out how to do that. Maybe somewhere outdoors where we'll put on hazmat suits and talk through a vacuum cleaner tube.
Sure, and we can suck food through a straw or something. But this has been a real treat.
Yeah, I really appreciate you doing it, and I just love you, Tom.
Same here, buddy. We'll get together in 3 dimensions soon.
Tom Bergeron is what you just listened to or watched if you were looking at the YouTube page. He is just one of the more special people that doesn't do it for a paycheck, does it because he loved it, was born a broadcaster. You heard it. He came out mic first. And he's just one of my special friends that, we both hosted the show, but look at his longevity. And Alfonso, that show will go on forever. Thank goodness, because people need to laugh. Let's all watch his new show when it does get picked up on NBC. And he's got books out there. And you want to get the one, I forgot the title of it. I should know it. Not a good host. But I'm earnest, but it's him floating off the ground a bit, doing some transcendental meditation. That's Tom Bergeron. Has been in our homes because he breaks and enters, and I had to put in a special alarm. Okay. Anyway, you can rate, review, subscribe. You know that. And I will read those things sometimes. You can go to the YouTube page, which is youtube.com/Bob Saget. You can follow this thing if you're listening to it on Spotify, but if you're at Apple Podcasts or anywhere, there's Stitcher and Twitcher and I don't know, Blinson and Donner. But it's it's just a fun thing to do this. It's Bob Saget's here for you. Thanks so much. And let's try to find some laughs, right? Let's all get some laughs. And there's a way to get them. Look for good comedy. Sending you all my best. Lots of love, everybody.